Hi, my name is Rob and I'm an instructor at Simul Academy. And today I'm going to be telling you a little bit about the Accurate Vocabulary Production course. The AVP course is offered as part of our summer 2023 programs, and the course will focus mainly on expanding vocabulary and collocation knowledge, but also building retention and reproduction strategies, as well as enhancing sentence reformation and paraphrasing skills. So this course would be suitable not only for interpreter or translation-focused learners, but also for advanced students who are just wanting to expand their working vocabulary in a variety of contexts. Okay, so let me then show you a few examples of the kinds of activities that might be included in the course. The course works from both BBC news video reports, but also some text-based lessons from articles. And this is an example of a piece of text focusing on the coronavirus vaccinations from last year. And one of the ideas is firstly, of course, to read and understand the language within short pieces of text, but then to also try to recall them and, if possible, come up with alternative possibilities as well. So as you can see now, some of the key chunks of language have disappeared from the original text. So the purpose of this task would not necessarily be to try to come up with the exact original content, but come up with some alternatives that would fill the spaces based on the correct structural completion of text and things like that. If you were able to accurately recall those parts, then you would know that it said the number of reported coronavirus cases have sharply decreased in Japan as its vaccine rollout gathered pace. Fewer than 200 cases were confirmed nationwide, compared to a peak of more than 25,000 recorded last August. From this point, you would then try to work on strategies to reform, to paraphrase, to try to manipulate the text to fit into certain requirements. For example, you might be asked to do the following to the original text: to start with Japan at the head of the sentence, to use decrease as a noun instead of a verb, to substitute gathered pace for an alternative expression with the same meaning, and also to use peak as a verb instead of a noun. And that would obviously require some thought into how those changes would also necessitate the further changes to the structure of the text to fit those requirements. So you might hopefully come up with something along the lines of this: Japan has seen a sharp decrease in coronavirus cases as its vaccine rollout accelerated. Cases which peaked at over 25,000 in August are now down to below 200. So, for example, as you can see, if you change decrease to a noun, you need to think of an appropriate verb which would also fit in to that chunk of language. So here you can see seen a sharp decrease, experienced a sharp decrease, witnessed a sharp decrease. These would all be accepted terms here. Accelerated is a good synonym for gathered pace. And also, to change peak into a verb, this time you need to connect it to the preposition at, peaked at over 25,000. Okay, so again, this is just building up knowledge of complete chunks of language, how sometimes you have to add extra particles when you change the form of words. So it's really kind of getting into the details of language and the nuances of text a little bit more. So at this stage, you might then begin to explore some of the language featured within a text more closely. So for example, we might take a look at the expression gathered pace from the text just shown previously and how it would compare to gathered speed. Are they completely interchangeable? Do they have exactly the same meaning? Are they used in the same way? And what you might find if you looked at a corpus, for example, this is just a simple search on the British National Corpus, it would show you that in most of the examples of gathered speed, you can see it's used in a context of transportation or vehicles travel, a train, craft, motor car, vehicle, etc., and so on. Whereas gathered pace is often used in wider contexts. Just a few examples, the industrial boom gathered pace, decision-making gathered pace, inflation, development, her career. So as you can see, there are far more instances of gathered pace and they are used much more widely. So when you are considering which of those two terms to use, the context of how they are used would influence your choice. And hopefully this course will help you build up this kind of knowledge and get very specific in word choice and selection. The course tries to focus on current relevant issues, hopefully that you're interested in, but also ones that you may not know much about, and those that are becoming increasingly important and relevant. So, for example, in the upcoming summer program, it will focus on tourists returning to Japan, a maritime border dispute, cancel culture, which is beginning to become a lot more prominent in kind of Western media, and also a focus on the collapse of cryptocurrency. And these issues will be covered either through a BBC news report or an article, a text-based article. So I do think this course is very interesting. It's challenging. It gets you to think about the nuances of language and the patterning and sequences of lexis and things like that. So I think it will help with not only interpreter-related or translation-related skills, but more generally and at advanced English level. Hopefully it will just give you a little bit more flexibility and depth to the language that you are using. So thank you very much for listening to that information today, and hopefully see you in class. Thank you.